You're listening to the Back Porch Talk podcast. Danny and Jason had many discussions and debates on the back porch while making pivotal investment moves with assets. That's right, with trading cards. They welcome you to the back porch and right into those discussions about current sports news with a fresh and unique twist. So come on and join us. Welcome to the Back Porch Talk podcast. I'm your co-host, Jason.
This is your co-host, Danny.
And fans, we have, I can't even say fun-filled show, man. We just got to go ahead and get down here between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Brooklyn Nets, the recap. And we do have some additional discussion points for the Julio Jones trade. We just need to get to this Brooklyn Nets and Milwaukee Bucks, which happened on last evening, and where the Brooklyn Nets won in Game 5 off of an enormous and phenomenal performance by Kevin Durant, and where the our Milwaukee Bucks, lost this game where they were up by 17 points in the first half. They ended up losing the game 114-108. And Danny, this game was just frustrating as hell to honestly watch, especially in the second half. In the first half, let me just say, I was happy to see some form of an offense being ran. I saw a lot of pick and roll action where Giannis is the screener and he would ultimately obviously roll to the basket or whatever the case may be. He did that multiple times, sometimes with Drew, sometimes with Chris Middleton. And it seemed to honestly work. And then I saw phenomenal restraint by Giannis from shooting the three-point shot. There were a couple of times where he decided, no, I'm not going to pull up from three. Let me go ahead, run the offense, maybe have Bryn Forbes shoot the three, and Bryn Forbes would make it. Maybe have Middleton just shoot the three. So I did see that restraint from Giannis in the first half. I saw Giannis back down some folks in the first half. I saw Giannis even shoot a 15-footer on the wing. And I'm like, where has this been the entire season? Giannis, a 15-footer from the wing. If you remember correctly, Danny, and I remember this, a few years ago, this is before Giannis became MVP, all that stuff. A few years ago, Giannis and other Milwaukee Bucks at the time actually had the opportunity to work out with Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett gave him, some pointers, counters, maybe some footwork hints, tricks of the trade, whatever the case may be. I really would have thought to have seen more of that consistently from Giannis. What I saw yesterday in the first half, when Giannis did the 15-footer off of the wing, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm talking about, Giannis. This is what you need to be doing more consistently offensively. So if you have that, and then maybe you can, have a counter here or there, and where now you can go to the basket, because now the defender is kind of guessing, okay, is he going to shoot this 15-footer? And then you can go right by him. I saw Giannis in the first half do a floater, middle of the lane. I'm like, okay, Giannis is starting to kind of showcase his game a little bit. I saw Giannis a few times with the hook. He pushed the shot a little bit more. He hit the back of the rim, but nonetheless, that was a different look offensively that Giannis was giving. So I'm like, this is awesome. Okay, I see where you're going, Giannis. The Bucks shot in the first half. They shot a lot of threes. They would make them. They were making them. Brook Lopez was making the shots. I'm like, okay, I see what you all are doing. You all are hot. The offense is moving. There was some foul trouble. I had a feeling that was going to happen. Uh, PJ Tucker had a couple fouls early. I think in the first half, he had 3. There were other players that had 2 personal fouls in the first half. Giannis included, Brook, I think Middleton as well. Drew Holiday was in serious foul trouble in that first half, being aggressive playing against James Harden, who actually came in into the game and played 46 minutes. And we'll get into that later on here on one leg. We'll get into that later on here. But the Bucks offense was flowing, Danny.
Mm-hmm.
But I was still skeptical because in the very first game of this series, in the first half, they bombarded the Brooklyn Nets down low. The game plan was, let's get it down low. Let's get some easy buckets. I didn't see a whole lot of easy buckets necessarily. I'll take that back. There were some easy buckets in the first half of last night's game, but I still was skeptical. Like, why is Brook Lopez 7 feet out, 7 foot, this far out from the basket? Yeah, he's hitting threes, but this is not going to bode well later on down the road here. And boy, was I right. That's the first half, Danny. Listen, I have a whole lot more to go, but let me get your analysis, I guess, in the first half here.
Hey, Jason, I think they have momentum coming off game 4. So once they went on that run in game 4 where they were down 11 and then they went on that big run in the second quarter, that carried forward into this game. They had that same energy, same flow. Brooklyn had nothing going. They couldn't hit a shot. They were out of sync. They were trying to incorporate Harden into the game. I thought the Bucks should have been up almost 30 points in that first half.
Heck yeah. Hell yeah, they should have been up, man.
So that's where I thought they had to get it, based on the first half. I'm like, all right, they're flowing, but they should have stomped the Nets out in that first half and just took their confidence away. And they didn't. And then the other thing I noticed was, and this was throughout the game once we get to the second half, but why aren't you taking advantage of James Harden?
Come on, man.
He couldn't even.
Come on, man.
He went out there on a Willis Reed type effort, man, because he shouldn't be out there. Not the way he was looking.
No.
And for him to go out there and give it a go, just to give them something, was courageous on itself, but that should have been an exploit all game long.
All game long.
And you saw it too when they went at him because he was playing off everybody. And when you went at him, he was like, all right, I'm just going to have to, concede the bucket.
Right.
So that was one of the main things I thought that could have contributed to that 30-point first half lead, because Brooklyn just didn't have it, man.
No.
In that first half, they were shook. And like I said, man, they just couldn't get anything flowing for them. They would get a bucket or two, and then the Bucks would just come back with a barrage. So that's where, and from the first half perspective, you hit on a lot of it, but I thought the other key thing was the lead wasn't big enough heading into the second half.
Yep, exactly. And let me add this to the first half. I remember in the first half, Giannis scored like 7 points straight. She shot a 3 and made it. He was feeling it. Mm-hmm. And I believe Coach Bud took him out. And I'm like, wait a second, what's going on? What's happening?
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know, man. It just all together strange, man. Then in the second half, Danny, I don't know what the hell happened. I think the Bucks went ahead and panicked. They knew this offensive threat, one of the greatest scoring players in NBA history. He was on fire, man. And I was just trying to figure out what is the defensive strategy here. You can keep PJ Tucker on him, but he was in foul trouble. Mm-hmm. In the second half, they switched Middleton on him. I don't know. It seemed they could have thrown some traps at him, double teams. I think they were doing some high pick and roll action to defray the double team there. I don't know, man. You gotta do something. you have got to do something, man, because Kevin Durant was on one, and he was efficient. He was very efficient in his assassination. Bucks, didn't y'all watch some game film on Kevin Durant? I mean, we've seen this Kevin Durant before in the NBA Finals against LeBron, and where he just come down and just score. And I have to admit, man, every time KD shot the ball in the second half, I was like, man, that's going in. It just felt like I was like, that's going in. The frustrating thing of it all was the reaction by the Milwaukee Bucks. And I was like, where was this offense? James Harden was on Giannis down low in the post. And I immediately said, oh, you got to go at him. I immediately said that out loud. I was yelling at the screen. I was like, Giannis, you got to go at him. He's on one leg. You know what James Harden did? He called off the help. And what did Giannis do? A fadeaway. I'm like, man, what is going on? And I don't know if Giannis was just scared to get to the free throw line, and we'll get into that in a minute, or whatever the case may be. But I'm like, man, come on, Giannis, you got to go at him. So second half was just a plain mess. It was a train wreck. For those who felt that PJ Tucker was going to hold Kevin Durant for this entire series, we all know that Kevin Durant is a Slim Reaper. Easy money assassin. We all know that. And he's given those nicknames for a reason. He is a professional scorer. I told y'all this in our previous podcast. We actually highlighted what Giannis said. And here's what he said. This is off of Twitter, and this is off of at Bucks off of Twitter. And feel free, fans, to hit us up on Twitter at @back_porch to really engage us. But here's what Giannis has to say here.
Just because you said you're not going to watch the game, you're watching Nets, is it just like a text you get? Like, oh, hey, the Nets won, we're playing the Nets, or is it like, oh, the Celtics?
I don't get texts. I leave my phone in my room, and I turn off the notifications. People that they didn't talk to me all year, they text me now. So I leave my phone in my room. I go sit on the couch with my son. I don't watch the games. Do not pay attention in basketball. All I care is about how can I get better, how can I help my team. And sometimes, my girlfriend or my brother, like, they tell me about, hey, you know what, they Washington won last night. And then I was like, hey, we're not talking about basketball in this house. This household, we don't talk about basketball. You know why? Because the way my brain operates, all I think about is basketball. So I don't need to talk more. I'm going to drive myself crazy, right? Hopefully we can, keep playing good basketball and keep playing for a long time, for a month and a half, right? Month and a half, so we can be the last team standing. So if I keep talking about basketball every day for the next month and a half, I'm going to get tired of it, right? And I'm going to want to escape it. So I feel like I'm at my best when I go back to my house. I watch my shows. I focus on myself. I focus on my breathing. I focus on what I eat. And when I come here, that allows me to give 100% in what I do and 100% in what I love, so that's why I do that. So continue with your question, Dad.
Player, yes, you're a professional ball player, but KD is he just likes playing ball. He thinks about playing ball 24/7, and it showed last night. I have so much more to say, but anything do you want to add for the second half here?
Oh yeah, for sure, Jason. For sure. So the second half, a couple of things that I observed. One was, besides KD and obviously Jeff Green, gotta give Jeff Green kudos.
Mm-hmm.
He had a hell of a game. He doesn't hit those shots last night, the Nets don't win that game. Even though Kevin Durant played the way he did, he needed somebody else to help him score. And that's what killed me, because Joe Harris, I don't know what happened to Joe Harris in this series.
Broke.
He hasn't done anything. Bruce Brown last night, a significant role player for them.
Broke.
Nothing. So Harden, this is his first game back. So with all that, why aren't you double teaming Kevin Durant? And they made it so he was getting, like I said, he was getting to his spots, and he always was going at, when he was going to the basket, he was going at Brook Lopez. They made it where he was going towards Brook Lopez. Another person that was key in this game was Landry Shamet. He had some big shots in this game last night for Brooklyn.
Yep, sure did.
And if I'm Brooklyn, I may adjust his minutes with Joe Harris's minutes because he's playing with more confidence. His shot was on. He's been quiet in the series, but he has that quiet confidence that Joe Harris just does. The moment is too big for him right now. So he may settle down, but that's that. The second thing is, or another thing was, like I said, Harden was on one leg and you're stalling out on offense where they had a couple times where they just had bad shots. They're just shots that they should have been, you would think they would make. And they were making them in the first half. They couldn't make them in the second half. They had multiple sequences down the stretch that they could have took an opportunity to take the lead, that they turned the ball over or took an ill-advised shot. There are just so many factors involved here that there's no way they should have lost this game, even with KD having a triple-double and an all-time performance last night.
Yeah,
the
man.
Bucks still should have won this game. And that's where, with the fadeaway you talk about with Giannis on Harden, you just look at it and you're just wondering, man, mentally, and this was one of my key factors in predicting this series when we talked about this, free throw shooting and execution in the fourth quarter. In my opinion, I think they get this next game at home because they play well at home. And I still think they can beat them in Brooklyn. But you got to hit your free throws and you have to execute down the stretch. And the Nets don't have Kyrie Irving. So it's one of those things where Brooklyn needs another scorer next game. And I don't know if it'll be Jeff Green again. I don't know if it'll be Blake Griffin. But somebody else has to step up with KD in order for them to be competitive in this game, because KD played all 48 minutes too.
Man.
So how is he going to come out tomorrow night in that game? Is he going to be fatigued, or is he coming to close the series?
Dan, listen to this stat line: 49, 17, and 10. 49 points, 17 rebounds, 10 assists, 2 blocks, 3 steals in 48 minutes of work. 16 for 23 from the field. 4 for 9 from 3-point. 13 for 16 from the free throw line. Blake Griffin had 17 points. Jeff Green had 27 points. Everybody else was in single digits. So, man, this is just, again, frustrating as hell. Shamet, 28 minutes, 9 points. To your point about Joe Harris, 37 minutes, 2 for 11 from the field, 1 for 7 from the 3-point line, 5 points. I mean, this was just, Giannis played 42 minutes, 34 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, 2 blocks, 4 turnovers. Middleton, 25 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, and a block, 3 turnovers. Drew Holiday, who was in foul trouble in the very first half, 19 points, 3 rebounds, 8 assists, a steal. So I looked at this interesting stat. Drew Holiday has ended the game with 3 personal fouls. He had all those 3 personal fouls in the first half. So it seemed like the adjustment that Brooklyn Nets made was put the ball in KD's hands and let him bring the ball up more so that way it takes the aggressiveness out of Drew Holiday guarding Harden.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was an adjustment there. But Danny, this is just, I'm just flabbergasted here, man. This is just absolutely horrid, man. Points in the paint. The Milwaukee Bucks have 52 points in the paint compared to Brooklyn Nets 32 points in the paint. Pound the ball in the paint. Those was where your easy buckets were. I think the Bucks have a mental letdown when they're faced with adversity within the game. And I think Giannis needs a coach that's going to coach him extremely hard.
Mm-hmm.
In the post-game conference, the media presser, Giannis said, "I will guard KD if that's what the coach wants me to do." Giannis is the type of player, type of person in where he submits to the authority, in this particular case, the coach. He has to be told, go guard KD. There's a lot of players who have said, so this is the defensive player of the year or former defensive player of the year and now first NBA all defensive team player. I think it's a little different, man. I mean, we got to hold back because not a whole lot of those defensive players in the first team throughout the course of the season, they don't guard the best player on the other side, on their team. Mm-hmm. So we got to hold off on giving Giannis some grief there, in my opinion. Giannis has to be coached harder. He has to be specifically told, go guard KD, go shut that down, and don't do no fadeaway. Go right at him. He's got to be told that. Stop shooting the three, Giannis. Go ahead and do the mid-range jumper off of the wing, and we'll run some action for you.
Mm-hmm.
I think a coach has to coach him hard and really put him in the right spot. I don't think Coach Bud is really doing that. I don't think he's done that throughout the course of this year. So I don't know, man. This is just absolutely frustrating. I think the Bucks will win Game 6. Game 7 is going to be pure grit and grind.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is going to be a physical game. I don't know who's going to win that Game 7, man. I'm really starting to believe that you can't coach up a team in a matter of, I don't think you can coach up a team in a matter, especially down the end of a game. I don't think you can coach them up in a matter of 3-4 days. Not like this. I really believe that. And I think Coach Bud has failed. And Danny, you know, I have been a Coach Bud saver in a sense, especially in this last year here. Coach Bud is gone, man. He's gone. If the Bucks don't make it past this, even in the Game 7, and I said this in the previous podcast episode, I said if this goes Game 7 and the Bucks lose, I think Coach Bud is safe. No, I can't say that any longer. Now after watching, forget Games 1 and 2. After watching last night's game, that game in particular has gotten Coach Bud fired, in my opinion.
With some of the news that happened today, this is a golden opportunity for Milwaukee to get their championship. I'll tell you that. With the news of Kawhi Leonard being possibly out for the playoffs with the Clippers, the Suns, when CP3 being put into the health and safety protocol, Embiid looks a little banged up, and they have a key Game 5 tonight against the Atlanta Hawks. So sky's the limit if you can get past Brooklyn, I'll tell you that. And a lot of things are happening where they could take advantage because they're healthy. A lot of these teams left in the playoffs are not. So this is their opportunity to lose at this point.
Mm-hmm. And Danny, this is what an all-time great has said about the Milwaukee Bucks, and this is Rachel Nichols coming from the jump here.
Do you think that this Bucks team, the way it is now, do you think that this team is capable of winning a title?
No, I don't. KD would kill those guys, man. No, I'm serious. Because he scored and then he finds the open guy. He could do that by himself. They got to do a better job. The whole team has to play differently so that KD, one guy, can't just dominate like that.
Well, they'll have one more shot at it, and we'll see what they can do in Game 6. Do you think that?
And that is Kareem, an all-time great, talking about the Milwaukee Bucks and their chances. So one all-time great recognizes the game of another all-time great in Kevin Durant. And now, Danny, to Julio Jones being traded to the Tennessee Titans. And man, what a time for the Tennessee Titan fans. And we'll see what happens, man. I think this is going to be very interesting with the Titans having A.J. Brown on one side and now Julio on the other. And then you have Derrick Henry in the backfield. So this is going to be very interesting to see what the Titans do, especially in what I consider a weak AFC South. The only other team that would be able to compete would be the Indianapolis Colts. But man, this is a very interesting trade by the Atlanta Falcons, ultimately with the Tennessee Titans. What say you, Danny?
So, Jason, my Falcons, they received the second round pick in 2022 and a fourth round pick in 2023. And the big part of this deal was the Titans taking on all of Julio's salary. And I'm curious on if they give Julio a new deal as a part of this. They restructured Ryan Tannehill's contract to get them cap space to pay Julio that contract of $15.3 million that he's owed this year, guaranteed. And my Falcons, the new regime, they're kind of in a tough spot, honestly, because now that this has happened and now everything's been exposed that Julio wanted to trade behind closed doors, and Atlanta tried their best to keep it behind closed doors. With all that being said, this is where you would have thought they would have went quarterback then if this was truly the case, to bring up Justin Fields would have been the person at that spot. But what they said, that he didn't grade well from their perspective, so that's why they went Kyle Pitts. So this year is going to be tough, and it's going to be one of those seasons again where they're kind of meddling, where they're going to be decent, but their defense is still not there yet. It's going to be tough to see, very tough to see Julio in a Tennessee Titans jersey, I must admit. With him, being with Atlanta for 10 years, putting up the numbers he did, man. So here are some numbers. Mm-hmm. He played 135 games, 848 receptions, 12,896 yards, and 60 touchdowns. Julio's had some soft tissue injuries over the last couple of years where some of the games he played, but he was more of a decoy versus him actually being the person. So now here's the opportunity for Calvin Ridley, to step up to be that number one receiver. And then they're going to have to go with that 2 tight end set with Kyle Pitts and Hayden Hurst and Russell Gage and Zacchaeus. They have to step up, man. So I think offensively, they'll still be decent. Still have Matt Ryan. It's all contingent upon the offensive line to give him time to throw the ball. But now I'm torn because it would have been nice to have someone like Justin Fields in line waiting so they could get rid of Matt Ryan possibly next year. So all that being said, congratulations to Julio. He got his wish. He gets a new opportunity. He's with a team where he could possibly contend for a Super Bowl, because that ain't happening in Atlanta this year. I'll be a realist. We're just in a tough spot right now. So I got to give the new regime time to get the roster in order, all the cap issues they had. They can finally sign the rookie class. They couldn't even do that before this trade. So now they can start signing the rookie class and move forward that way and start putting their stamp on this team. But Tennessee, I'm gonna have to. It's gonna pay me to see him, but I have to go check him out down in Nashville and see what he does. And they have a good setup, man. And if anything else, this helps Derrick Henry, because they're gonna pound the ball, but that takes another person out of the box on Derrick Henry. I'm very curious how they execute and how they play and what they do. Like you said, that division is weak. It may be an understatement. So they should definitely kick some butt and have maybe 3-4 losses this year based on the paper team. You always know with the now 17-game schedule, you don't know how injuries are going to play into this. Load management, all these things we'll get into once the football season starts spiking up here. But we just wanted to hit on this because from my Falcons standpoint, this was a significant loss, not only from the player, but who he was and how he represented Atlanta and the Falcons organization from a personal level, and how he kept his nose clean, how he did everything, was on the positive and the up and up. So wish we could have got that Super Bowl back in 2016 for him, man, because he deserved it. He deserved it. So that's one for the books. So thank you, Julio. Hate to see you in that Titans uniform, but we wish you well, man.
Thank you for joining us at Back Porch Talk Podcast. You can also join us on Twitter by tweeting us at @back_podcast. For more information, you can go to our website, which is backporchtalkpodcast.com. You can also email us at backporchtalkpodcast@gmail.com. Again, thank you for joining us, and remember that there's enough hate in the world, so go ahead and spread a little love.